Hi, welcome back to another video continuing my journey on the Walter Scott Prize for Historical Fiction Longlist. This is my 7th book from the Longlist out of the 12, and this review is all about The Book of Days by Francesca K. What did I think? The Book of Days is like a breath of fresh air, it really is, and there's a number of reasons personally for me that I feel that way. Firstly, it's set in Tudor England, and it's one of my favourite periods in history, apart from the Victorian era, I guess. But also the language is so descriptive and beautiful. It's completely different to anything I've read so far on the long list. The story took a bit of a while to get going for me personally, but I did enjoy it, and especially nearer the end. But yeah, the language is just so beautiful. It's kind of, like I said about the Safekeep, a work of literary art. Whereas the Safekeep had more of a story going for it as well as the language. Here it is more about the language, but that's okay. It kind of makes up for it. We've got beautiful imagery about the seasons and the landscape. And yeah, it's just really beautiful. So the Book of Days, I say, set in Tudor England, and it tells the story of Alice from the first person narrative. And it's the Book of Days, it's like written like a diary entries. And we have Alice, who is married to Richard. Now, Richard was married before. His previous wife died in childbirth. I believe she had like 6 children, but all of them but one died fairly early on from, young children to babies or whatever. Anyway, so he remarried Alice, and she didn't really have a say in the matter. And we find out Alice in the previous year had a baby who also died young, weeks after being born, I believe. So yeah, we follow Alice. She's isolated, she's lonely. She doesn't feel like she belongs in this house. It's a grand manor house. Obviously, Richard is an important person in the community. And we see that he's rebuilding the local church. They're changing up the windows for some nice stained glass windows, but the main thing is they're building a tomb for Richard and his family, who are currently buried, like his previous wife and their children are buried in the graveyard, and they want to move it inside the church into a newly built tomb. Also living in the house is Agnes, Richard's daughter, surviving daughter from the first marriage. We see tensions between Agnes and Alice as the story progresses. And we follow, so obviously Tudor England, we follow the Reformation and the effects that's having. And this book is all about change, and it's not just in the Reformation. That's a main focal point for the change. But as I mentioned earlier, we see change in the seasons, the beautiful language describing how the seasons are changing before them, but also how people's lives are changing. People are being, born, people are dying, families are changing. And yeah, it's the main focal point running through the story is change and how people deal with change, how they react to it. But yeah, the Reformation plays a big part, especially getting towards the end of the story. We have, I'm sure everyone knows the Reformation and what that's about, but briefly, so when Henry VIII decided he wanted a bit of totty and the Pope said no, he kind of distanced himself from the Roman Catholic Church, created his new church, Church of England, and they decided that idolising anything apart from God was, not on. And they banned, praying to statues, singing songs, ringing bells, processions, all the sort of show, if you like, showmanship that came with the previous religion of Catholicism. I say previous religion of Catholicism. Catholicism is still around, obviously, but back then when they tried to ban it, that's what they were trying to ban, the showmanship of the religion. And they believed it should just be people, showing their devout Christian ways in a very private manner. And so that's the focal point. We see how in this little village where they live, they're untouched by what's happening in the rest of the country so far. They still do all the singing and the praying and the rosary beads and all of that. And we see what happens when finally people from the King's Council come to investigate what's happening in this village. And they say it's more to, you know, advise them what they should be doing. But, you know, things kick off and it's quite a somber ending. But yeah, it's really beautifully written. So as I mentioned, change is a main focal point for this novel, and on the blurb on the back, very short, but it states, things change, we have to recognise that, the world will not stay still, what we must hope is that the new is better and stronger than the old. And that's what we see through the novel. In some parts, is it better, or can they make it better, or is it worse, or just making the most of the situation you find yourself in that you can't help. So yeah, there's a nice theme running through it, some side stories that are implied which are quite nice as well, but overall I was tossing between 4 and 5 stars, but because of the way it's written I have to give it 5 stars. It's really, yeah, I've said it about 5 times, but really beautifully written, some lovely language, I think I say the same things all the time, but that's what I suppose I expect when you have novels shortlisted or longlisted for a literary prize. They're all going to be to a high standard, which they have been so far, and I'm really going to struggle trying to determine which books I'm going to pick for the shortlist. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's my thoughts, my quick thoughts on the Book of Days. It's really lovely. It kind of transports you to a different time, which is what I love about historical fiction. It's kind of like a bit of a fairy tale, although not everyone gets a happy ending. But yeah, absolutely lovely. If you like sort of dreamy language in, you know, historical settings, I recommend it. So next up, I was going to read Glorious Exploits, but I'm still going to keep it, and I'm going to do it after the next book. But the next book, I've decided I'm going to try The First Friend by Malcolm Knox, mainly because I still can't find it anywhere in the UK. This came all the way from Australia, so I thought, you know, it'd be rude not to give it a go and see what it's like. It is a bit of a bigger book, but we'll see how long that takes. The plans going forward, so I don't think I'm going to get more than this and Glorious Exploits read before I go away. And I go away on the 9th of April. I don't come back till the 16th. And I believe that is the day that the shortlist is revealed. So my plan is I'm going to try and read this and Glorious Exploits before I go away, do some videos. Then I'm going to try and at least take, I have A Sign of Our Own up there. And I'm going to order one of the other books and take those away with me. Try and read at least those 2 while I'm away. Not sure if I'm going to be able to do any videos while I'm away. If I can't, then when I get back on the day the shortlist is revealed, I'm not going to check the shortlist. I will quickly come up to my office, record a quick reaction to the books I've read, if I have read both of them, do a little prediction of what I think could make the shortlist, and then react to the shortlist. So yeah, I'm going to have to be, you know, not checking social media the whole time that day when I land before I get home. But that's the plan going forward anyway. If you're following this short series of videos I'm doing on the Walter Scott Prize, thank you very much. I hope you're enjoying. Let me know if you've read any of the books. Until next time, thank you. Bye.